Hi everybody and welcome to Treasure Time for this week. Reverend Vicky here. I hope you've had a really good week. In a little while we're going to be looking at one of my favourite characters from the Bible called Isaiah. But to begin with, let's just have a moment of quiet and then we'll light our candle. I hope that you loved that worship song, Jesus being the superhero. I wonder who your favourite superhero is and what special powers they have. I wonder if you were a superhero, what special power you would want. I think I'd quite like a few, but I know that's probably cheating. But maybe the one that I would like most is a superpower that would help everybody be kind to one another and love one another. That would be really good. And as a Christian, that's what we're called to do, to love one another. But it's not always easy, is it? And we know that we need help with that. Hundreds and hundreds of years ago, there was a prophet called Isaiah. And the prophet Isaiah predicted. That means he told people something that was going to happen. He told people about Jesus, and that Jesus would be the one who would help us love one another and be kind to one another. And this Isaiah said this hundreds of years before Jesus was even born. I think that's pretty amazing, but I don't want to spoil the rest of the story. So let's settle down and watch our Bible story today, which is all about the prophet Isaiah.
God's story, Isaiah. So part of God's story is about Isaiah's prophecies about Jesus, and it goes like this. Isaiah was a prophet. That means he heard from God and shared it with other people. God had a lot to say to his special family, the Israelites. So he gave Isaiah prophecies. A prophecy is when God makes a promise and tells us something that's going to happen in the future. And God always keeps his promises. Isaiah shared these prophecies with the Israelites. He told them of God's power and majesty, how wonderful and amazing and strong and kind and loving he is. He said, God gives power to the weak and strength to the powerless. Those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. This encouraged God's family and helped them trust that God was always with them. The most amazing prophecy God told Isaiah was that he would send someone perfect to earth, someone who would take the punishment for our wrong choices. Isaiah preached about how the rescuer would bring us close to God and would be a light to the whole world. He would bring good news to the poor and rule a new kingdom where there is no suffering, pain, or sadness. Isaiah said, "For a child is born to us, a son is given to us. The government will rest on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. His government and its peace will never end." But how exactly would this rescuer arrive? People thought he might come as a powerful king who would rule over everyone from a mighty throne. And Isaiah did say the rescuer would come from the family of King David. But Isaiah also said the rescuer would be born as a baby, that he would come from a region called Galilee, that he would serve others his whole life and then be rejected, beaten, and killed by his own people. Isaiah said he was pierced because we had sinned. He was crushed because we had done what was evil. He was punished to make us whole again. His wounds have healed us. But the prophecies didn't end there. The most amazing thing of all, this rescuer would die and then come back to life. So God's family waited and waited. For 700 years they looked and listened and hoped for this rescuer to come. Then finally Jesus arrived, and all the things Isaiah said about the rescuer came true. Jesus was born as a baby. He came from Galilee. He was a descendant of King David. He served others his whole life. He was beaten and killed even though he was completely innocent. Then he defeated death and came back to life. And because Jesus took the punishment that we deserve, all we have to do is turn away from our wrong choices and choose to follow God instead. Isaiah never got to see all these prophecies come true, but he trusted that God would keep his promises and that he had a plan. We can do the same thing, even if we're going through something hard or confusing or sad. And even if we have to wait a long time, we can hope and trust that God will take care of us. And that's a little about the prophecies of Isaiah. So in case you missed it, here's the quick version. Isaiah was a prophet. He heard from God and shared it with people. God always keeps his promises. God told Isaiah about the rescuer. People waited. All the things Isaiah said came true. Jesus, the rescuer, fulfilled Isaiah's prophecies. And that's a part of God's story.
such a lot, when you got not a lot, what? Be happy. I'm gonna jump up and down, gonna spin right around, gonna praise your name forever. I'm gonna shout out loud, gonna deafen the crowd, gonna send my praise to heaven. I'm gonna jump up and down, gonna spin right around, gonna praise your name forever. I'm gonna shout out loud, gonna deafen the crowd, gonna send my praise to heaven. I'll run this race and I will never stop. I follow Jesus till the day I drop. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. When you've got such a lot, when you got not a lot, what? Be happy. Such a lot, when you got not a lot, what? Be happy.